Welcome to the Pharmacy Frontiers podcast. We're excited to come to you today with Randy McDonough, who is the co-owner and director of clinical services for Town Crest Pharmacies in Iowa City, among 8 other locations in eastern Iowa. Let me remind everyone that the Pharmacy Frontiers podcast is available for streaming on your favorite podcast streaming app, whether it be Apple, Podbean, Spotify, or YouTube. The Pharmacy Frontiers podcast is a podcast dedicated to the profession of pharmacy. The comments and opinions shared today are those of the hosts and our guests, are not official statements of the MPA, Mercy, Mitchell Pharmacy, nor Town Crest Pharmacies. I'm Daniel Good. I'll serve as your co-host today along with Tim Mitchell. And let's get rolling. Let's introduce Randy McDonough, who is co-owner and director of clinical services for Town Crest Pharmacies. He's also a luminary for CPESN. He is a past board of trustees member for APHA, as well as a consultant to the McKesson consultant board. He is a CHCS grant recipient, and I hope we get to talk to a little about the testimony he made before the Senate hearing committee earlier this year. So, Randy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
So, Randy, give our listeners just a little bit of background there. Did I get that right? You have 8 different locations across Iowa, and how long have you been doing that?
I have been an owner for almost 20 years. It will be 20 years next year. And but the pharmacies themselves have been around, at least the main pharmacy, Town Crest Pharmacy, has been around for over 50 years in our community. I always tell people, and if you heard my Senate testimony, we did have 9 sites, and we did have to close a pharmacy at the end of May, so end of last month. And part of it was just the type of third party that we had, just, you couldn't make it. Plus, it's in a very rural area, and we could not find a full-time person to work it as well. So a variety of different factors that they did that. But otherwise, we do have 8 sites right now. The main one being Town Crest Pharmacy in Iowa City. And then we bought a building right across the street, and we decided to really start changing some of the things that we do. So we created a cash-based practice. That's where Aaron is at. That's Town Crest Wellness Apothecary. We do functional medicine, not only within the local markets, but it's a national thing. And we also do international. We're also doing non-sterile compounding. And then we also have a cost plus pharmacy there as well. And then attached to that building, and there's 2 separate buildings, but very similar locations, just separated by a common loading dock. We have our closed door long-term care, but we do not take care of nursing homes, which always surprises people. We do both medical at home patients or pharmacy care at home patients, and we have a very robust group home. We take care of a lot of the group homes in the area. Then in Solon is about 10 miles south of us or north of us. That is Solon Town Crest Pharmacy. Then we have our Cornerstone, which one Cornerstone Apothecary is actually in Marengo, and the other one's in Van Horn. Van Horn, we converted that into a hybrid telepharmacy at the beginning of the year. Similar reasons, where it was just difficult to make a profit within that pharmacy. So we started looking at, and it's only pharmacy within a 15-mile radius, so we felt like we need to keep that there. So we got the board and was able to make that a hybrid pharmacy. So 2 days a week is pharmacist is there with the technician. The other 3 days, the technician is running the pharmacy, and then pharmacist remotes in from our Iowa City location.
Cool.
And then we have a pharmacy in New Hampton, Iowa, Bennett Pharmacy. That's kind of a unique pharmacy because when we bought that one 3 years ago, we're not much. In fact, I'd say we're not in the 340B space at all. But that particular pharmacy has a very good relationship with the covered entity and very robust 340B program. So that's been a really nice pharmacy for us there. So a lot of different things that we're doing, a lot of clinical services, a lot of diversity with all the sites that we have.
Sounds like you've got your hand in about everything you could have your hand in. I'm just sitting here trying to think, is there something you don't have? Listen to all those things. And I've had conversations with you over the years, and I'm like, okay, I see what he's doing. And honestly, Randy, you inspire me to keep going in community pharmacy, because when all the chips seem like they're stacked up against you, I can see you're like figuring out ways to maneuver around to go forward. How do you, do you have somebody that inspires you and it keeps things going? because you've always been my inspiration. I'm just trying to figure out where you're getting your gumption here.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's, and I can't remember who I said this to, but at one time I just kind of thought that, there was something wrong with me because I didn't think the same way as other people. And,
There is something wrong with you, but it's all good.
never accepted the status quo. I mean, I was just a person who just didn't accept the status quo.
Right.
But I've had a number of conversations today with a number of different partners, and in it, we talked about, survival of community pharmacy, and I made it very clear. I don't rely on an organization. I don't rely on an association. I don't rely on anybody to help me figure out how I'm going to make my pharmacy survive. That's my job.
Right.
What I expect organizations, what I expect associations to do, and different groups that I'm working with is to help to express the value of pharmacy, because the battles that we have in community pharmacy, in particular about reimbursement, is bigger than just a single pharmacy. It's going to be a profession-wide thing. And so the things that inspire me, Tim, to be real honest, is I get a lot of satisfaction out of challenging the system, but taking what I've learned and then pass that on to others to help them be successful in what they're doing. But you're a good source for me too, because I saw some of the things that you've done more recently, and I'm like, good for Tim. And so I think that's important, is that we inspire each other and challenge the system that we do. So there really hasn't been anybody. There's been a couple of low points in my career when I felt like I didn't know if I can go on, and then I would get the right people to say, hey, you still got it in you. And then, I always say, if you get a good night's sleep, the next day is a good day. And
right.
You may feel beaten one day, and the next day you wake up and you get that drive again, saying, no, okay, I might have been beaten yesterday, but today I'm back at it.
Yeah. Well, I live what you're talking about there, because I know there's days and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know if we can keep doing this. But then I wake up the next day and I hear something that Randy did, or I hear something that somebody else in the community pharmacy sector, just like me, is doing. And it's like, wow, okay, I'm inspired. I can do that. And, I think it's important that we do support one another. And I think it's important for us to stay involved in organizations. And I know you've been active with NCPA, you've been active with APHA, probably the Iowa Pharmacy Association and CPSN and everything else. So, I think it's important that we try to support all those organizations as well. I know you definitely do your part for sure. So we appreciate all the inspiration that you throw out there for sure. So
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into pharmacy? I mean, going back, well, you said you've been in pharmacy for 20 years. Where'd you go to school?
I've been an owner for 20 years.
I'm sorry. That's right. You were instructor at College of Pharmacy for a while, weren't you?
Yeah. So what you didn't hear, you heard one job that I have, which is my main job, CEO and co-owner of the Towncrest Pharmacy Corporation. But I'm also a faculty member at Loma Linda University School of Pharmacy in Southern California. I have been for the past 5 years.
Wow.
And so I teach their pharmacy management and innovation course, their required course. And I also have entrepreneurship and innovation course that's optional for students if they want to take that or not. But yeah, I've been doing that for about 5 years. And then I also get involved with some of the CPSN California work. So we talked about CPSN, and yes, I'm a luminary both at the USA level and also at the state level, but I also get involved with California. So at Iowa and California, I got to know all the CPSN pharmacists there very, very well. And then, I also have been involved with Community Pharmacy Foundation with Flip the Pharmacy, as right. You're aware of, Tim, where I've been director of practice transformation. So I've been involved in a lot of different things. But before I became an owner, I was actually a faculty member at the University of Iowa College of Pharmacy. In fact, I had just made full professor on July 1st of 2006. That's, I said, I'll be 20 years next year. So July 1st of 2006, and I left on July 5th, 2006 to become owner. So I was a full professor for 4 days. And so I always thought that I was going to make academia my experience. But before that, I was a community pharmacist, and I worked in a variety of different community pharmacies. Independent pharmacy was always my favorite, which makes sense why I became an owner. But a little known secret is people don't know this, but I was an Eli Lilly rep for 3 years as well.
I didn't know that. Okay, wow.
Yeah. So, and I was successful at that. When I left, I was number one in my region on several different products. And, I thought, wow, this is something that I didn't know how much I'd enjoy it, but I learned a lot of good skills, and I've taken a lot of those skills I learned from Eli Lilly and be able to apply them into being a pharmacist and an owner, which has served me very well.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Can't hear you, Daniel.
A great worldly view of pharmacy. In fact, the whole thing decided, let's get into business. Tell us about that decision.
Hey, Daniel, we were having trouble hearing you.
Having trouble hearing you. I'm not sure what's going on.
Oh, my apologies.
Well, I'll go ahead. Can you say something, Daniel? Let's see if we can hear you.
I was going to ask you, how did you choose to get into?
Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Sorry.
Nope.
Well, we'll just keep going here. And
I just like stuff though. This is good.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can hear some crazy stuff, but
Yeah.
What as far as looking at the future of pharmacy, you did some testimony the other day.
Yeah.
Where do you see the profession going in the next 5-10 years? I mean, I know you and I have had many conversations about where we thought the profession was going, but
Yeah.
I mean, with what is going on in Washington, D.C., what's going on in the profession, where do you see things going in the next 5 to 10 years for people?
Yeah. Well, I think the bigger question is the time, right?
Yeah.
There's the future. And as I said to some individuals, and I should make it clear too, I am president of APHA right now too. So
Absolutely.
I'm a past board of trustee member, but I'm actually a current board of trustee member and current president for APHA. And, but I frequently tell people there's really two types of futures, right? And I say that because of the urgency. I want people to feel about what's happening in community pharmacy in particular. But there's an urgency of where we're not being reimbursed, whether we're being a provider and getting reimbursed as a provider. And as a community pharmacist, we're not getting reimbursed enough for the product as well, which is a double whammy.
Right.
So that immediate future is the urgency I tell people. So when I say a future, I'm like, I got my immediate future, which is it's scary. But then I've got this, let's say 10 years out future. And I do think this, and I've always said this. Community pharmacist or pharmacy, let's not even say community pharmacist and pharmacy, and that includes our technicians and other help that we have. But pharmacy serves a unique need in society, and that unique need is really medication management and care coordination. So, being the drug therapy expert. But what makes, in particular, community pharmacy unique is not only the access within the community, but the relationships we have within the community. And I really do see that community pharmacy could be the hub, the health hub for a community where the care coordination is happening, where we're connecting with a variety of different other providers and resources within the community to help our patients, but we're also providing the medication management, which encompasses a lot of things, not just making sure the patient's achieving a therapeutic outcome with safe and effective medication, but also as there are affordability issues, can we get them connected to resources to help them with that? So really taking that full responsibility. Recently, I presented to the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine, and also to JCPP, which is the Joint Commission on Pharmacy, that has developed the pharmacist patient care process. And this is where I really see pharmacist fitting in and pharmacy fitting in. In 2016, and I've used this stat quite a bit, in 2016, there was a study that was published that I've cited quite a bit, of which in the United States, we spent about $264.8 billion, or $364.8 billion, I think. Oh, let me get that number right. $464.8 billion. And if you compare that to how much we spent on drug therapy at that time, it was $340 billion. So the bottom line is, and I'm going to say the number again the right way, 568.4. That's the actual number. Divide that by the $340 billion on how much we spent on drug spend during 2016. That is $1.55 we spend for inappropriate medication use. For every dollar we spent on drug therapy in 2016, we spent another $1.55 to correct the problems associated with inappropriate medication use. In the 1990s, that number was, for every dollar we spent $1.33. We don't have any recent work that has shown how much we're spending for inappropriate medication use, but we know this. Our population has gotten older since that time, and medications have gotten more complicated. In 2022, we spent $405 billion on drug spend. You can imagine, with the complications of our medications, and as the patients have gotten older with more polypharmacy and chronic conditions, that inappropriate medication use has increased as well too. I tell people, I say right now, I estimate that for every dollar we spend on drug therapy, we probably spend between $1.75 to $2 for inappropriate medication. So for every dollar we spend, so we've doubled that. And that's what's really concerning to me, because everybody thinks how drugs are being used in this country is managed, regardless if we have pharmacists or not. We know, with all the work that we do with payers and value-based contracting, that pharmacists, when they get involved in the drug therapy, reduce overall healthcare spend through reductions in ED visits, reductions in overall healthcare utilization, reductions in hospitalizations. If we don't have pharmacists there, we're just going to see that increase. So what I see for the future is that I think people are finally going to realize, wait a minute, we need a drug therapy expert. They need to be a part of every encounter with a patient, and they need to be paid appropriately. So in that 10 years out, that's why I say I've got the short term and I got the long term. The short term is going to be the hard part, right? How do we figure out, how do we stay open and
sure, yeah,
first revenue,
fighting the battle, just trying to breathe, keep our heads above water here. So
long term, I see a very viable future, and that's what I'm working for now. I may not see it in my career, and so people are like, "Why are you doing it now?" I'm like, because I want to leave the profession better than when I entered into it. Yeah. And I think if everybody had that attitude, we'd probably be a lot further along.
You're right. You're totally right. Yeah, absolutely. So moving on to the testimony you did, there was a Senate committee that you testified to.
So it's interesting. I was actually in Canada meeting with the Canadian Pharmacists Association, and this was 2 weeks in advance of this testimony. When I got out of the blue an email from Senator Grassley's office saying, we got an urgent request, can you be on a call within 30 minutes? And so I was able to postpone my meeting in Florida for a short period of time so that I could have this call. And they said, well, we're just checking to see if we were going to have this hearing, and Senate Judiciary hearing to talk about PBMs. And we just, there's some other people we're looking at, but we just want to find out what about PBMs. And I kind of chuckled.
You know anything about PBMs, Randy?
Just a little bit. As soon as I opened my mouth, I said, well, let me tell you, I did sue one of the big three.
Yeah.
And so I said I have a lot to say about the PBMs. But anyway, so they interviewed me for about 30 minutes, and they said, well, we'll let you know. And I said, well, when is the actual hearing? And they told me it was going to be on the date that it was, but that was only 2 weeks away. I'm like, well, when will I know? They said, well, we'll give you plenty of advance notice. Well, come to find out, that wasn't advanced. In fact, I decided I wasn't being selected, so I wasn't planning on it. The hearing was on a Tuesday. I found out the Thursday before.
Oh, gosh.
That night, I found out the night before. They told me that they need to have my actual written out testimony 24 hours in advance, so they had to have it by Monday. And all I remember is I wasn't feeling well, and I had a really bad head cold.
Oh, no.
So Friday wasn't a good day because I was in meetings all day. My wife says, you're going to write your testimony. I'm like, I can't write anything right now. So I waited until Saturday. So Saturday I wrote it out, felt pretty good with it, but shared it with some people. So Sunday evening, I received some feedback. I finished it up and got to by Monday morning, the 24 hours in advance. So it was a pretty good turnaround by the time I had to go in. But I had, I felt pretty comfortable with what I was going to say.
Well, you've lived it for 20 years, so you know what it's all about. But that being said, you never know what's going to happen with the opposition. Yeah, you never know. And it's like, how do I plan for some of this stuff? But I will tell you that the senators that asked you questions totally seemed as though they got it. Yeah. Josh Hawley, my senator, I'm so happy. I mean, he gets it. And I've spoken with Senator Hawley in his office many times when we go to Washington, D.C., and he'll meet. I mean, he doesn't send his staffers in. He'll meet with you, and he's like, "I'm on your page. You tell me what we need to, what you want to do, because this is what I'm doing, and I'm moving forward." And the man is passionate.
Absolutely. I loved what he was saying. I love the charts.
Yeah, I mean, he had it all, and you know, I'm sure JC Scott is a nice guy, but he's not one of my favorite people. But I would say that he took a beating, and rightly so. I mean, I think your testimony helped prove what's really going on in community pharmacy right now. So I thank you for that. I know there's still a lot to do, and we've got a lot of people to convince. So I think it was very inspiring. So Daniel, do you have any, I don't know if you can, if your volume's back on.
Can you hear me all right now?
We can hear you. Yeah, I'll let you ask some questions if you'd like.
Well, Randy, we salute you for the work you've done there, especially with those hearings. And Tim and I both know what kind of stress that can be, but at the national level, it amps that up quite a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. I
wanted to ask you, though, about your family. Give me a chance here. I think give you a chance to brag on your family a little bit. Your son Aaron's a pharmacist. I know that Tim's son has joined him there in the pharmacy. My daughter is finishing up her residency at Baylor University Medical Center, Dallas, before entering the workforce. So brag a little bit on your son and what he's doing to make a difference. Yeah. I know he's a recent award winner.
Yeah, so he won Innovative Pharmacist of the Year in the state of Iowa, which I have won that award as well too. Decades before, and so it was really nice to be able to see that. But I saw something in Aaron long ago. When he was in pharmacy school, I could see some of the entrepreneurship that he had. He actually had that as a kid. I mean, he was always looking away for making a buck. And I've got some funny stories about that, which are probably not appropriate now, but he'd be selling my merchandise on like eBay and
oh my gosh,
different social media markets. And I'm just like, where did this stuff go? Oh, I sold that. But so he was always entrepreneurial, but it took another level when he was a pharmacy student and he was part of a NCPA, the student competition, and they got second in the country, and a very unique idea that him and his student colleagues came up with. But I told him that he couldn't become an owner of Towncrest until he did a residency. And I did that because I wanted to make sure that he was setting himself up for the future. And as I was watching him progress through his different rotations, I saw even more of the entrepreneurial attitude, and I was very concerned. This is my selfish dad now speaking. I was concerned that if I had him do a residency somewhere, someone was going to see just how entrepreneurial he was.
He's swiping.
They would have taken him away.
Hey, I have the same fear.
So literally, he was on his next to last rotation. I talked it over with my other partners. We all agreed that we'd make him a full partner. So I called him up and said, okay, I said, I know I told you had to do a residency, but we've changed the deal. I said, you don't have to do a residency. We can teach you the things that you need to know about practice and skills and clinical skills. But I said, what I can't teach is the entrepreneurial things which you have. So we want to bring you on as a 25%. So there's 4 of us. So each of us are 25%. And I said, but your job is to create the cash-based practice. He did some really cool rotations across the country. I mean, again, he set that up and I helped him get connected with certain people. But he saw, the functional medicine happening. He saw the non-sterile compounding. He wasn't as familiar with the cost plus. He's learned about that over time. And he's just done a great job. And he's really gotten involved with the social media. He makes reels on a regular basis. I'm sure you've seen some of his work and stuff.
Oh, yeah, I follow him. He's inspires me. It's like, okay, we can do this.
Yeah. He's got a tremendous following. And so it's just fun to watch him. One of the practices I didn't tell you about that really was stimulated by him and a physician that we just opened up. That's called Thrive Recovery Club. And that is an IV hydration clinic.
Yeah.
And so that's all cash-based, and it's been open since I'd say around February or March is when we opened it. And he's doing a great job with that and awesome. Growing that on a regular basis and getting new clientele. And that's just, fun. I mean, you take risks, but you take risk in those things that you feel comfortable about.
Sure.
And when we did the TWA, Town Crest Wellness Apothecary, people said, "How'd you know it was going to make money?" I said, "Because I saw the writing on the wall that, if you got a good product, people will pay for it." I say for 2 years, we were throwing money into it. But I said at some point I knew that was going to change. Well, I will tell you, and this I think is an important thing for people to know and your listeners to hear, that pharmacy now, that TWA, cash-based only, brings in a gross margin of about 62 to 70%.
Holy smokes.
Heard of, right? In community.
Yeah, that's unheard of.
It shows, and we put a lot of effort into marketing and everything else, and it still, brings us a nice profit at the end of the year. So we felt very comfortable that that was the right move for us, and we expect that to happen with Thrive Recovery Club as well.
That's awesome. Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're just got started and we could probably talk for another 2 or 3 hours, but we're going to have to wind it down because our podcasts aren't that long. That being said, we're going to have you on again sometime, but I didn't prep you on this. But I usually try to throw something at the guest. You could tell us one thing about Randy McDonough that not everybody knows, something unusual. It doesn't have to be anything about pharmacy, something that's, just kind of an interesting little fact about you. I got you thinking now.
You do got me thinking. You got me thinking.
It's like, do I really want to share that?
I think this, as I'm in the twilight of my career, and as I contemplate what's the next steps, I don't think what people know about me is because they see me working all the time. So I just think, there's no way you can. But I work very hard when I do have that few free front times that I have. So I'm very much into athletics. I love golf. I love playing one-on-one with people in basketball. I love going hiking and things like that. So I don't think people realize that I do have this other life, and I've got, 4 children and got 5 grandchildren so far. And, and I want to travel. And so I don't see that, I'll totally give up on pharmacy when I'm done. But I will tell you that, I will start putting more effort into what I want to do versus trying to always work hard to fight for the profession and stuff. And it's time to pass it on to people like you, Tim and Daniel, to I feel good, and to Aaron. I mean, I feel very good about the generation, and I felt like my job was to try to create some positive change that's going to make the profession better. And I feel very good about the future of the profession in the younger generation right now.
Well, that's awesome to hear, and I appreciate those positive words. It's a very tough time to be in pharmacy, and I tell Tanner, that my son Tanner, the same thing, that it's important to be innovative and just keep working hard. Let's just keep our nose to the grindstone. But I do have the same aspirations as you. My wife and I just got back from a vacation that we really enjoyed. Got to get away. Didn't have to have the daily grind for a few weeks, and it was really nice hiking. And so you inspire me even more. So,
I play hard as much as I work hard.
That's good. And I knew you were competitive. I had no doubt you were a competitive individual. So.
I am very competitive. Yeah, that's not an unknown. I think people just see that in me.
Daniel, do you want to close us out, do some final thoughts here?
I will. Well, Randy, thank you very much for joining us today. We're privileged to have someone of your accomplishments and your stature be not only on our podcast, but be one of the leaders in pharmacy across the country. And for that, we thank you. We thank you for being ahead of the curve. We thank you for continually training the next generation of pharmacists that are out there. And congratulations to your son, and congratulations to such a successful family. Yeah. And to those podcast listeners out there that are with us listening to the Pharmacy Frontiers podcast, we encourage you to seek out the other Pharmacy Frontier podcasts on your favorite podcast channel. But until then, please remember, it's a good day to be in pharmacy.